I hear it all the time. Lee, I'm not that creative. I didn't get that creative gene. It just passed me by. No, I'm not the creative one in my family. Or I just don't have time to be creative. Now, maybe that last one, I don't have time to be creative, that might be true, but we're all creative. We are all born creative. We unlearn and quit using our creative muscle. So if you walk around saying, I'm not creative, or I just don't have that, you're never going to be, because you're busy reinforcing in your brain and in your soul that you aren't a creative person, when in reality, you probably are very creative. So it's a matter of, one, believing that you're creative, and two, recognizing your creativity. I had a lady in the store the other day and she's like, oh, I don't do this kind of stuff. I'm sort of afraid if I did, it would take all my time. She says, I really like to garden. I'm like, you're being creative. Gardening is creativity. It requires a ton of creativity. I was talking with my father the other day, who we started talking about work and things, and he says, I really enjoyed my job because I was always problem solving. And I relate problem solving to creativity, because that's what I do a lot of in my business here, is problem solving. I'm helping people achieve the results they want. So I'm solving their problems in a creative manner to achieve what they are looking for. So someone will come in and say, I want to stamp this image. And I'm like, what are you going to stamp it on? How do you want it to look? Or other times they're like, okay, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, what do you want your finished product to look like? And it's the same like when you're creating a database and you're trying to figure out all the fields you need in a database, you have to know your final product first before you can create the database. Because if you don't know the output you want, you don't know what fields to include. And this is true in a whole variety of areas that I consider creative, and I consider almost everything creative. So, what kind of bread are you making? What kind of cookies are you making? Are you making lemon bars or are you making chocolate chip cookies? You have to know your final outcome so you know what ingredients to put in. That is creativity. And then when you start like cooking up a stew or something, and you're like, oh, what if we put a little bit of this vegetable in, or a little bit of this spice? That's creativity. And that's problem solving also, because you've got something you want in your mouth. You've got that flavor that you want, that you're like, okay, how do I achieve that tongue satisfying flavor? That's problem solving and creativity. So don't be put off by things that were told to you when you were a child. Like, you're not the creative one, it's your sister. It's like, no, that's wrong. And parents, shame on you for telling kids that, and shame on teachers for telling kids that, because there were so many teachers, especially when I was a kid, but I've heard lots of stories since of teachers that just tell children that they're not doing something right, and the child not knowing any other way because they were interpreting the instructions as they were given. So that's they say, okay, if I can't interpret your instructions right, ergo I'm not creative, because the kid next to me understood, we heard the same instructions, understood it differently than me, and you're rewarding him for being creative. It's like, that happens so many times. It's amazing. And many times it boils down to just not hearing one word or interpreting a word or two differently as a child in the creativity. And so in understanding instructions and what to do with the products. I moved school frequently because we moved a lot when I was a kid in grade school. And many times I'd end up moving mid-year. So I'd walk into a classroom and all the kids had this back history that I didn't have. And many times it sort of left me feeling a little awkward or a little out of place, because I couldn't pick up on the instructions as fast with a new teacher. When you start a school year, you've got the teacher, everybody figures it out fairly fast. And it's that way with a lot of creative things, that something happened as a kid and you just decided that it wasn't you, and you quit practicing that muscle. So you are creative. You have the ability. Yes, you do, even if you think you don't. First off, you have to believe that you do. Second off, you have to start practicing. And it can be, like I said, simple things like making cool lunches for your family to take to school and to take to work, so you're eating healthy and you're eating interesting foods. That takes creativity. And I can tell you that because sometimes I get so bored making my lunches, and I'm the creative person. So, because it's like, I don't feel like planning, and I have to. You have to do a little planning, you have to do a little creative thinking, and it's your creativity. So keep thinking about this. If you're feeling like you're really not creative, I'm going to say you are. You just haven't found that little spark inside of you that lights up when you're doing something that really is creative, and that is also problem solving, because to me they're intertwined. They're very much intertwined. Everybody thinks about, they're creative, they're painting, they're like Van Gogh. Well, many times that artist is problem solving because they saw something in their heads, there's something in their brain that they have to get out. And they're, by painting or drawing or whatever, they're solving their internal problem and getting it out. So creativity and problem solving go together. And when you recognize this, when you recognize that your problem solving skills and your creativity skills come together, then you become a powerful thinker. And that's where it becomes amazing. And it's just the things that you can do when you start putting all those little forces together. So you are creative, you're an amazing problem solver, and think powerfully. I'm Lee Kellogg, and I will see you all next week. Bye.